Ah, villains. Always so dramatic, so mysterious, so weirdly chatty. In movies, the bad guys usually have the upper hand until they decide it's time for a TED Talk no one asked for. Whether it's explaining their evil plan in excruciating detail or dropping one too many smug one-liners, these villains didn't just talk themselves into trouble, they talked themselves straight into defeat. From high-tech terrorists to philosophical masterminds and cartoon madmen, we're counting down the top 10 times movie villains lost because of their big mouths. Because sometimes, silence really is golden. So buckle up, grab your popcorn, and whatever you do, don't monologue. Because we all know what happens when you do. 10. Dr. Evil, Austin Powers series. Dr. Evil is the poster child for what not to do as a villain. Every time he captures Austin Powers, he pauses to explain everything. The plan, the location, the self-destruct sequence, even the escape route. He literally says, I'm going to leave them alone and not actually witness them dying. I'm just going to assume it all went to plan. That's not villainy. That's self-sabotage. And he does it every time. Instead of just launching the missile, he spends 15 minutes talking about sharks with laser beams. Dr. Evil doesn't get defeated. He defeats himself with his own mouth. And you know what? We love him for it. Because some villains were born to fail loudly. 9. President Snow. The Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 2. President Snow ruled with fear and flowers until he started talking too much. In Mockingjay Part 2, he tries to sway Katniss with one last smug monologue, revealing President Coin's betrayal. He thinks he's manipulating her into sparing him. Instead, she uses his words as confirmation. This system is broken, and with a single arrow, she kills Coin, not Snow. Snow laughs briefly until the people tear him apart. He dies not with a bang, but with a blood-filled cough and a smirk. His belief in the power of persuasion ended with a mob and a ruined legacy. Megatron, Transformers, any of them, seriously. Megatron could conquer the world, but he's too busy narrating it. Every time he shows up, he doesn't just fight, he performs. Big speech, big voice, big target. While he's yelling, Decepticons rise, Optimus is already halfway through turning him into spare parts. His biggest weakness isn't the Autobots, it's volume control. He monologues like he's auditioning for Shakespeare in the park, with grenades. Even Starscream's tired of hearing it. And Starscream talks a lot. If Megatron just shut up and fired, the war would have ended in movie 1. But instead, we get 6 movies of loud failure. And honestly, we wouldn't have it any other way. 7. Gabriel. Gabriel Shear is all swagger and soliloquies. In Swordfish, he fancies himself a revolutionary, preaching about war, morality, and freedom, like a Bond villain with a philosophy degree. But here's the problem. While he's talking, others are catching on. Hugh Jackman's Stanley starts connecting dots. Plans start unraveling. But Gabriel keeps talking, believing his brilliance will save him. Spoiler, it doesn't. His words don't stop the chaos. They cause it. Gabriel's downfall isn't just explosive, it's verbose. Less time monologuing, more time watching your 6, Gabriel. 6. Ultron. Avengers Age of Ultron. Ultron was supposed to be the next step in evolution. Instead, he became the next lecture on why villains lose. He talks to everyone, heroes, minions, complete strangers, sharing his every plan and personal philosophy. Instead of keeping secrets, he narrates his downfall in real time. His endless talking gives the Avengers the clues they need to track him, stop him, and eventually create Vision, the one being that outsmarts him. In the end, Ultron didn't lose because he was too weak. He lost because he wouldn't stop explaining himself. Maybe next time, skip the speeches and upgrade the silent setting. Snittle 5. Hans Gruber. Die Hard. Hans Gruber was smooth, educated, calculated, a fake terrorist with a real plan. But when he meets John McClane face-to-face, he goes off script. Using a fake accent, he pretends to be a scared hostage. Clever, until he talks too much. McClane picks up on the lies. Then it's game on. Later, Hans wastes even more time monologuing, bragging about his brilliance instead of just ending it. That delay gives McClane time to duct tape a pistol to his back and pull off one of the coolest movie kills ever. Hans's arrogance made him talk. His talking got him dropped from Nakatomi Tower. Moral of the story? Never monologue with John McClane. 4. John Doe. John Doe planned everything. 7 sins. 7 victims. A twisted masterpiece of horror. But once he got caught, he made one fatal mistake. He couldn't resist talking. During the infamous car ride with Detectives Mills and Somerset, he drops philosophical bombs like candy, taunting, teasing, explaining just enough to break Mills down. And when he finally reveals what's in the box, game over. His manipulative monologue turns the detective into wrath, completing the final sin. If he'd kept his mouth shut, Mills might have walked away. But instead, Doe talks his way into martyrdom, his voice triggering the final fatal act. He didn't get shot because he was dangerous. He got shot because he wouldn't shut up. General Hux, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. General Hux is what happens when you give a drama student control of a death machine. He doesn't just command the First Order, he announces it, loudly, with dramatic pauses. Remember when Poe prank calls him during a battle? Instead of firing, Hux holds. Why? Because he's too busy yelling about supremacy and waiting for someone to say, "Can you hear me now?" By the time he realizes it's a distraction, the Resistance is already lighting up the fleet. And when he betrays Kylo Ren, does he play it smart? Nope, he brags, loudly, to everyone, and gets shot immediately. General Hux could have ruled the galaxy, but he talked himself out of it, literally. 2. Ernst Stavro Blofeld, James Bond series. Ernst Stavro Blofeld might be Bond's greatest enemy, but he's also the CEO of oversharing. Whether it's You Only Live Twice or Diamonds Are Forever, every time Blofeld has Bond in his grasp, he launches into a villainous PowerPoint presentation. He explains his plan, his backup plan, his childhood traumas, and his dinner reservations, all while Bond secretly plots his escape. It's villainy by way of Shakespeare. And what happens? Bond escapes. Every single time. Blofeld's big mouth doesn't just ruin his plans, it's practically MI6's best agent. If there were a supervillain conference, Blofeld would be keynote speaker and promptly arrested mid-speech for revealing too much. Future masterminds, take note. Less talk, more lasers. 1. Syndrome. The Incredibles. Syndrome had the brains, the gadgets, the plan, and one massive Achilles heel. He just wouldn't shut up. Once a fanboy named Buddy Pine, he reinvented himself into a tech-savvy villain, obsessed with proving you don't need powers to be super. But instead of executing his plan quickly, he falls into the classic villain trap, monologuing. When he captures the entire Parr family, does he finish them off? Nope. He takes a guided tour through Gloat City, giving them just enough time to regroup and retaliate. Even at the climax, Syndrome tries kidnapping baby Jack Jack, pauses again to brag, and ends up facing a diaper-wearing demon with godlike powers. Jack Jack goes full monster mode, Syndrome panics, and Karma shows up with a jet engine. His own invention literally destroys him. Lesson learned? Villains should invest in action, not TED Talks. And there you have it. 10 villains who couldn't resist the sound of their own voice, and paid the ultimate price for it. Whether it was bragging, oversharing, or just trying to sound smarter than everyone else, each of them forgot one simple rule. Real power doesn't need a mic check. So next time you're watching a villain start a speech in the third act, just know, it's probably the beginning of the end. Which chatty villain do you think talked themselves into the worst defeat? Drop it in the comments, hit that like button if you survived this monologue, and don't forget to subscribe for more cinematic countdowns, epic breakdowns, and the dumbest genius moves in movie history. Until next time, stay quiet, stay sneaky, and for the love of all that is evil, stop explaining the plan.